Hi, it's Elena with Financialdemics, and today I'm answering a question that I received. I received this question asking, how much money should I save each month? And this question is kind of a hard question to answer, but I'm going to give you some things to guide you so that you can make the decision on how much you should save each month. So the person who sent me the question also mentioned, should they just pick 20% because the 50-20-30 budget says to put 20% towards like savings goals. But one thing I will mention is that 20% goes towards savings goals and it goes towards the repayment of debt. So it does depend on what your financials look like. So the first thing I will always say is look at your financials. Look at your budget, look at where you stand. How much money do you have left over that you're willing to put towards savings? And make sure when you're looking at these numbers that you're making sure that you have personal money to spend and that all of your expenses with your bills are listed, right? So make sure you include those things that you like to do, like getting your hair done or getting your nails done, or if you get massages or things like that. Make sure all of that's included in your budget so that the savings amount you have is realistic. Now, even though I believe in saving first, I also really believe in making a realistic budget. And so that's why I always say, what does your budget tell you? What you can do is, if you know, like, I want to save this much, you can put that in your budget and then look and see if you have enough to do that once you pay for everything else, and then adjust that number accordingly. But you just want to make sure it makes sense, because what you don't want to do is put money in your savings and then take it back out the same month. That's not what we want. We want to actually save money, not constantly put money in and take money out. So the first thing I would do is really look at your expenses, see how much you can afford to save, and then add it to your budget. You also have to look at your goals when deciding how much you want to save. You know what's coming up in your life. So you want to make sure that whatever you're saving for, you'll be able to do so in the correct time frame. Because even though you may be saving just for emergency fund, we could save for big things also. I'm a big proponent of using sinking funds to save for other things that are going to come up. So if you have certain deadlines to reach, then you need to save based off of that number, and you need to also make sure you have the money to save based off of that number. Now, I always say a minimum of 10%, but 10% may not work for you right now. And also, you may be the type of person who prefers a flat rate. Nothing is wrong with that either. I like to use percentages because I get money from different sources. So it's just easier for me to say, okay, that's going to savings. But for somebody else, it may be more difficult for them to always use a percentage. So my rule, to make it simple, is if you're normally receiving the same amount each month, then you can easily use a percentage to determine how much you should actually save each month. But you can also use a flat rate. A percentage also works if the amount you're going to receive changes. So if you have like side hustle income that changes on a monthly basis, then a percentage works that way also, because it's easier just to say the 10%. But for someone who maybe they don't want to deal with figuring out the 10%, because there was a point where when I first started saving, percentages were not my thing. I just saved a flat amount every time I got paid, and it was easy. I didn't have to think, right? So you could do that also. But then also, you may just want to do a flat amount because you have this certain goal in mind. Like maybe you say, I want to save $500 every single month so that I can have this much money in my savings by the end of the year. So you have to decide, what works for you. And then also, just depending on your different goals. I have different sinking funds for different things. Some of my sinking funds, they do get a percentage because it's like ever running. It doesn't have a deadline. But then some of them have a hard deadline. And so I know I got to save this much in that account to do what I want to do later. If I have a certain type of travel plans, I typically save my money ahead of time for travel. I constantly save for travel, but I save my money ahead of time for travel. I know, like, if I book this big trip, then I need to have this much money before it's time to go in order to make sure everything is covered. Just know that it changed depending on what you're saving for. So all in all, look at your goals, look at your budget, see what works for you, and then decide the number. You can't go wrong because you are saving. And look, you may have to start small, and it might not have anything to do with what you can afford. It's just a mental thing, right? So you may have to start small, and then you'll realize, like, oh, I can save a little bit more. I can save a little bit more. I can save more. So do what works for you. But if you're saving, nobody can tell you you're saving wrong. You're doing something. And as you get more experience and you get used to it and get confident in how your money moves, you will start saving more. And you'll start saving towards like specific goals at the same time while you're saving for other things. If you have a question that you would like me to answer, go ahead and shoot me an email to the address listed below. I will answer it anonymously. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and share it with a friend, because you know your friend might be thinking the same thing but they haven't said anything. And you know I'm big on talking about money. If you want to know ways to find money to save, then go ahead and check out this video right here, and I'll see you next time.